Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. I'm your host Laurie Brooke, and together we will get to take a look at what goes on behind closed doors. Today, I am joined by the lovely Michelle Hoffman.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hoffman. I'm your relationship coach with the art of relationshiping.
Michelle Hoffman is the creator of The Art of Relationshiping, helping people go from lonely to find love now, resulting in better personal and professional relationships. She's the author of 2 international bestsellers, Life Worth Living, New Management Blueprint, and soon to be released, Find Love Now, the right personal, professional, and intimate relationship resource to understand how all relationships can be improved from chemistry to casual to committed. After being widowed, becoming head of household, sole parent, and single to successful entrepreneur, happy, family, and in love again, Michelle uses her experience to help others go from lonely to love. Welcome, Michelle, and thank you so much for joining me today. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I'm happy to share with you and your listeners anything that I could possibly do to make their life worth living and make sure that all of their relationships are the ones that they're in love with.
I think that's so important that we actually are in love with our relationships and we're not actually just in them for the sake of being in them.
Yeah, we're taught growing up that we're supposed to behave a certain way or that we're supposed to do a certain thing. And interestingly enough, that's developmentally through our lives, that at this age, you're supposed to have this and that accomplished and happening. And we try so hard to please the people who we care about, whether it's culturally or in our family or socially, whatever it is, that sometimes we get caught up in these eddies of relationships that aren't right for us because we think we're supposed to be doing something. And we behave in a way like we'll change our behavior based on what we think other people might be thinking. And that is not the most effective way to live your life fully. You need to do what's right for you and your family.
How did you get started in all of this work?
Oh, I'll tell you, when I was a little girl in my family, we had a tradition on our birthday that we would have a candle in our cake and we got to make a wish and close our eyes and blow out the candle. Did you do that when you grew up? Do you remember any of your wishes?
No.
No. Some of the things I've heard are, I wish to have a pony. I wish I could have all the chocolate in the world. I wish I were a princess. I want to be a CSI person, a crime scene investigator. You never know. For me, when I closed my eyes and made a wish on my birthday candle every single year, I wish to be in a healthy, loving relationship and welcome children into my life. That was my wish my whole life. And as I grew up, it took a little longer than I thought it was going to, but I knew not to get into the wrong relationship. I say, you don't always know when it's wrong, but you know when it's right. And I knew when it was right. I met the man for me. He was not at all what I had envisioned in my mind, but we were at the same intersection of the lifeline of our relationship arc. We were at a point where we wanted the same things out of the rest of our lives. Our core values were very much in alignment. We made decisions in the same way because our value system was complementary, and we were ready for one another. And we got married and we welcomed children into the world. And it was not fancy or showy, but it was perfect for me until he died. And then I wondered what life was going to look like because I had it all. I mean, I didn't have it all planned out, but I was very comfortable letting it take its course with my partner by my side. And now I'm suddenly head of household, sole parent, and you guessed it, single. And I wondered if I would ever love again. So this is how I got into it, because I literally needed to pull myself out of the soaking wet pillow from my tears and figure out, how do I make my life worth living again? How do I set my children up so that they have the support structure that they need to move through and step into their perfect for them lives? And so I used all of my life experience and all of my work experience and project managed what needed to happen. And it was working. And then a friend of mine who I used to go running with in high school went out for a run, had a heart attack, and died. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And then, of course, I realized I actually do know what to do, and I can't do nothing. So I went to his widow and said, this is never going to be okay. I'm going to hold your hand and walk this journey with you. Let's project manage this thing. And we did. And she and her children are doing beautifully. And then everyone in my community was like, go help them, go help them. And I'm like, no, 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 I need like 2 jobs now. I'm the only person who's the breadwinner here. And they're like, no, this is your job. And I thought, I don't know if it's my job. I mean, I was a portfolio manager. I worked as a high level executive in medical publishing for many years. I worked at Stanford University in the Department of Medicine. Is this my job? And I thought, you know what? Before I get a job, I need to write the guide that I did not have to pull life together after any grief or loss or traumatic experience. And it became an international bestseller. So, Life Worth Living was really the catalyst that changed my life, because people all over the world were reaching out to me going, hey, can you help me through this? Because it's an indescribable scenario. And yes, of course, I would help you, but I need to go get a job. And they're like, no, this is your job. So I started doing it, and people were so pleased with it. And then people really focused on, I've got videos and activities that are really simple to do and quite profound and revealing of what is my life about? What is my why? What's my purpose? How do I ensure that I know what decisions to make for my life so that, like my late husband, when I die, I know I really lived? That's something we're not taught in school. And it's very rare that we're taught that anywhere. So people who were not widows and widowers were coming to me going, can you help me with the relationshiping part of this? Because everyone wanted their chapter 2. They might have been at their heels of heartbreak. They may have been divorced. They may never have had love in the first place. And they started to come to me, and I was putting them through this life worth living process, which was really, are you ready to be relationship ready process? And it was working swimmingly well. Um, and it was like everyone started to find love. And I added this component of how to attract, keep, and enjoy the right love in your life. And it is so much fun. My life is so good right now because I get calls from Madagascar saying, you helped me fall in love with the right person. And I never thought I'd be able to find love. I wish a client a happy birthday, and she sends me a picture of herself and her boyfriend in Greece celebrating her birthday with the true love of her life. She's finally figured out what love is. She's 84 years old. I know. On the younger scale, I get people who contact me, my clients, every day going, I wouldn't have known Mr. Right if I saw him. And when we start working together, she says, I love this one. She goes, you used to say, or you say, you don't always know when it's wrong, but you know when it's right. And she goes, that pisses me off. Until now, because literally she became relationship ready. It took her 1, 2, 3 days. And the man who is the love of her life, walking on air, making her feel like cotton candy, she says. His last name is Wright. She literally met Mr. Right. I'm going, yes, what a great job. So when people are lonely and they feel like they've been trying to do this and they run into the same challenges in relationships, and they're just like, I don't know how to get through this on my own. What am I doing wrong? Because professionally, I'm successful. My friends think I'm great. My family's wondering why I can't be in a healthy relationship. What is the missing piece? And I help people trust themselves in intimate relationships and navigate obstacles and advocate for themselves so they're really in these healthy relationships with someone who's genuinely attracted to authentic them, rather than what I would say one of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to be some sparkly object that you're not, that could be very attractive, but you can't keep that up. So find someone who's attracted to you.
So
That's how I got into this.
it's just a fascinating story from where you started to where you have ended up. And I think it's the joy and the love and the excitement that really shines through.
Thank you.
With what
It's
you do.
true. I got chills.
So how do you find out, like you've mentioned it a few times now already, that people need to be relationship ready? So how do they get relationship ready? We're just going to take a quick break now, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you stick around and join us for the rest of our conversation. If you haven't already, make sure you grab a copy of my ebook, It's Time to Stop the Overwhelm, giving you practical and actionable tips that you can implement right away to create happier and healthier relationships.
So it's interesting. Relationship ready is really defined specifically by who you are. I have a process that I've put in place. And when you dive into the dating pool, one, you need to know that you're relationship ready. And what's key is you need to be able to see other people who are relationship ready so that they aren't someone who might drag you down with them. So essentially, when I'm working with someone, I have something called a confidence index. And we go through like the major aspects of life that you need to have in place just to wake up in the morning and feel confident that you got this going on. And that could be understanding who you are in the world and who you were. What's one of the exercises that I do is, who did you used to be? Who are you now? And who would you like to step into becoming? It sounds so simple, right? When you really dig down into that, it's a life-changing activity. I just got off a call with a client, and she has been looking for a partner with potential. And it's appropriate at the lifeline of her relationship arc. I would say it's appropriate to look for a partner with potential when you're at the younger or earlier stages of relationshiping with somebody who you want to partner with, you want to build a home, a family with, that they're going to grow through life.
We're just going to take a quick break now, so don't go anywhere. Make sure you stick around and join us for the rest of our conversation. If you haven't already, make sure you grab a copy of my ebook, It's Time to Stop the Overwhelm, giving you practical and actionable tips that you can implement right away to create happier and healthier relationships.
However, she's sophisticated enough, she's quite advanced professionally, and she really just wants someone to meet her where she's at. So she doesn't really need to look for potential. And so the point that she and I were talking about is she should look for capacity. And what are the stories in your head that you're telling yourself that if you do get involved with someone, suddenly you go belly up and you worry about them and you're trying to fix them. And I'm like, how about dating someone you don't have to fix because you're not at that point in your life? You already did that. Now you're a little bit more sophisticated. You've got your kids, you're divorced, and you're ready for a companion to go and experience an adventure and enjoy life with. And she's still working. She's not at retirement age. But here she is at a point where she's involved in a startup and she's very excited about every day at work, she doesn't need to be fixing someone else. So look for capacity in her case. And these things change depending on where you're at in the lifeline of your relationship arc. I have a client who just didn't have any understanding of how relationships work. And I was explaining to her that all relationships go through the same cycle, all of them, personal, professional relationships, all of them, family relationships. They go from chemistry to casual to committed. And it's actually a spiral. And would you like me to walk you through each of those?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So the chemistry phase of a relationship, imagine you lock eyes with someone from across the room. This would be like, love at first sight kind of scenario. It can happen, especially if you know very specifically who you're looking for. That's how it really works. But, it could be just anyone. And or maybe you've done all of that work. So rather than meeting them just organically, you've done some online dating or someone has set you up on a date. So you've got some background knowledge that they are who they say they are. At any rate, the law of attraction is going to bring you together. It's that magnetism. And as you're eye gazing with them, your brain is figuring a whole bunch of stuff out. It's like data point, data point, data point, right? And if you're at an earlier point in your developmental lifeline of the relationship arc and you want to build a family, some of the things you might be seeking is someone who would have a diverse gene pool to, bring in healthy children. So genetics. If you're at a different point in the lifeline of your relationship arc, you're going to be looking for someone. So that would be potential versus capacity. Somebody who looks like they want to do adventures with you, if those are your core values. Someone who likes to travel and stay in the hoity-toity restaurants and hotels, not just, camping. And it depends on what you choose. Would you prefer to go on an RV trip across the country? Or do you want to go to the Michelin 5-star restaurant and read the wine list like you're, adventuring and walking through the heated vineyards of Bordeaux? So really, you want to represent yourself accurately when you're doing this. So here you are in the chemistry phase, literally, drinking them in, this person, and figuring out what's going on here. It changes your chemistry. The oxytocin is a hormone that is bubbling up. It's designing to reach out and it's called the cuddle drug, because you reach out and create community with this oxytocin push. The dopamine hits that are like a euphoria of eating too much chocolate. So it's literally, my gums go numb. I'm waiting for someone else to tell me they also have that experience, but so far it's just me. So somebody please step up and let me know what's happening to you too. So it's all of this excitement, and it literally, people in this phase tell me they start acting like teenagers, they say, or they just, somebody is looking at them, making them feel like a goddess, and they feel like they've won the jackpot, and they feel like, oh, I'm home. There's another one. When I'm with him, I feel like a gentle rain. I'm like, oh, so good. So you get this chemistry mode, and it literally changes the chemistry in your body. And that's very exciting. So when you first encounter someone or when you meet them for the first time, this is what's happening because it's new. You get this adrenaline rush. It's a thrill ride. Then once you've established a relationship to some degree and you decide, for example, that you're going to meet again, let's go out and we can go for a walk along the beach. We can go get coffee. Let's go to dinner. But whatever it is you're doing, we as mammals really enjoy being able to anticipate what's going to happen next, especially if it's good. So this is why the casual phase is actually also a very exciting time of a relationship. And in that, this is the things that we could compare this to are, we go to the same restaurant, We might order the same thing because we have an expectation that this is something we're going to enjoy. We like to watch the same movies or stories. We like to listen to the same songs over and over again because we like to feel how that whole storyline goes in that song. It's very reassuring and comforting and exciting to go on that ride. There's something else that's very key that happens in this casual phase of a relationship. So while you might be looking forward to a first kiss, a second one on the stair, one in the, wherever they are, the first kiss, the next kiss, whatever it is, but it's also, you need to be aware of what could be a red flag deal breaker. What might throw up an idea that this is going to be a negative situation for you, or this person isn't who they say they are, or this would be a dangerous and hazardous relationship to get into for you based on who you are. So if there are deal breakers, then it is appropriate to disengage from that relationship, set them free, say, you know what, you're a fantastic person. We do the gratitude sandwich. I've really enjoyed getting to know you. However, we are not a match. Set them free to find the right match and so that you can find your right match. Okay, so there may also be a yellow flag being raised here. And a yellow flag is something that needs to be cleared. I'll give you something that is ridiculous. I'm sorry, it was very serious for one person. This person felt it was very important that the spoons in the spoon drawer were spooning together. And this was a potential deal breaker to her. However, when she presented it as very important to her partner, he said, I'd be happy to make sure the spoons are spooning if that pleases you. It doesn't matter to me, but it's fine. I'll make sure the spoons spoon because you're worth it. And she's like, a sense of calm. So, it's kind of an unusual one because I think it's a good one to use as an example. So a yellow flag means clear this concern. And if you get that cleared, that turns into a green light go from chemistry to casual. You've made a commitment that you're at a different stage and phase in your relationship. That then catapults you into the chemistry form of, ooh, we're going to go out again. And you start to future cast and future plan what might happen, as you go further into this relationship together. And then that continues to spiral up. It could be that you keep dating. Maybe you decide to move in together. This is a straightforward traditional method. It can be any which way to any which kind of partner that pleases you. Maybe you get married. Maybe you have children, whatever it is. So that's how from chemistry to casual to committed, the cycle goes. I had a client who really said she wanted to date. Her ex-husband had been dating and she's competitive, so she hired me. But she really wasn't ready. So I started with, the relationship cycle in a more professional forum. And the situation that arose for her, she called me up ad hoc and said, I need your help. You're the only person I know I could call, Michelle, who would allow me to lick my wounds and then help me through it. And what had happened was her administrative assistant said on a Friday that she was fine, everything was great, and then left a letter of resignation. And she's like, oh, I don't know how to find a person who's going to be the right fit for me. And I'm like, from chemistry to casual to committed, it's the same process. And if we can put together a job description that's going to be a lot like a personal profile, this is a professional profile, then you're going to take applicants and they're going to submit their resume. Again, it's a professional profile versus a personal profile, and they're going to apply to get the right fit job for their career. It mirrors putting together a personal profile to understand who you are in the world so that it makes it easier to find the right fit partner to invite in. And she was like, Oh, I get it now. So we went through that process, and then she saw that she understood the steps to take to actually attract, keep, and enjoy the right love in her life. And she is very happy now. Very happy.
I think that's a great one to end on there in terms of relationships are the same. Do you know, like we have relationships with so many different people. They don't just have to be our personal relationships.
Right. Right. They all flow together. And when you can understand that equation, that process, then it makes everything easier. And life is better with good love in it.
Yeah. Don't go away. I will be right back finishing the conversation just after this. If you are looking for ways to improve, enhance, and take your relationship to the next level, make sure you check out our online program, Improving Your Relationships. Don't stay where you are. Do the work, create your own happiness, and move forward with happier and healthier relationships. I want to take you back, Michelle, to the red flags that you mentioned earlier, because I think red flags are something that we can often see they're there, but especially in that early stage of that relationship, sometimes we don't want to admit that they're there. We want to pretend that everything's great, that we, this is the person that I want to be with, apart from these little things that they might do, everything's great.
So my grandmother gave me some sage advice many, 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 many years ago. And she said, whatever little idiosyncrasies that, your person has, make sure you can live with them because they're only going to be exaggerated. And I'm like, okay, the whole spooning situation. That wasn't my issue. But I'm like, that was good advice. But how do I know so many people who come to me who then admit that they knew it wasn't the right relationship when they were going either up or down the wedding aisle? I'm like, no, how did you let it get to that? And so often, like I had said earlier, we're so excited about being in a relationship or in a boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, a partnership, or in a fiance relationship or a marriage, that we forget that it's not just being in a relationship, it's being in a relationship with a specific person. Are they the right person? Because it's the deciding factor of whether it's a lovely, incredibly fun and joyful ride or something that is just going to be devastating. Relationships don't have to be hard. If it's hard, I'm going to ask some questions. But if it's fun and easy, it's like, okay. But if you feel like you're compromising your values, your ethics, your morals, if you feel like you're giving up your identity and yourself early on in the relationship, if you are taking care of everything and everyone, and you are now, fixing someone, I would like you to wonder if these are red flags. And it's interesting because when people come to me, they actually have a more difficult time figuring out what are green flags versus red flags.
Is that because they've got so many red flags that they just don't know? They can't figure out what a green flag is for them at this point?
Well, I think what happens is they don't know who they are. It's such a simple exercise. Who did you used to be? Let's just say it's you or me. I was a daughter. I was a sibling. I was a friend. I was an athlete. I was an artist. I was a musician. I was an employee. I was an ice skater. I was, all these things. And I was a girlfriend. Then I was a wife and a mother. Then I was a widow. So I was all of those things. And who am I now? I'm a widow. I'm a girlfriend. I'm a mother. I'm an author. I'm a coach. So who I am now is very different than who I used to be. So it's interesting that this became the most important thing for someone that needs to hear this, Don't date for who you used to be. Date for who you are now, and who would you like to step into becoming. I would love to continue to be, a girlfriend. I don't know if I want to get married again. That's a different topic altogether. But a girlfriend at minimum, a significant partner. I'm in a significant relationship, so to maintain that. So a parent, a significant partner, an author, a coach. I'm a speaker. So I can decide who I want to be. And the person I want to invite into my life is going to be somebody who I can maintain my individuality and they can maintain theirs. And together we become so much more. And that makes life worth living. I just threw that one in there. I'm not just totally by accident. It makes it easy and it makes it fun, and you're supporting one another. But if you're allowing someone to derail your life and be absorbed by whatever they need you to do to fix them right now, then this is the biggest reason I see relationships go out of alignment. And that is when someone is not feeling like they are enough. And it's very common for someone with like an anxious attachment style to be starry-eyed over someone who has an avoidant attachment style, because they're charismatic and they're exciting and they're fireworks. And just like fireworks or those movie moments, they fizzle out and the movie ends. And the avoidant attacher then retreats because there's a fear of intimacy and they want to make sure that they maintain their own integrity. So they will break it off and say, you are not enough to fulfill my amazing life. And that confirms the anxious attacher's reality of, oh, I'm not lovable, I'm not enough. And that most people in the dating pool are avoidant attachers. And so really what makes it easy for these people is to date someone with a secure attachment style who's a lot more easygoing about all of this. Like the example with the spoons. Our spooner probably had an anxious attachment style and her partner didn't care. Like, yes, I can make sure the spoon. It is not a big deal.
I think I have to go check my cutlery drawer after this.
There you go.
I'm sure they're not spooning.
It's a good example. It's nice and easy.
Certainly. So what is one thing, that you really wish and hope people understand when it comes to relationships?
That life is better with good love in it. Relationships can be easy, and they all follow the same cycle, from chemistry to casual to committed.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today, Michelle. It's been lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Want to say your book, Life Worth Living, that will be, the link for that will be available in the show notes. So if anyone wants to get in contact or find you, it will all be there. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. If you can, I would love for you to jump on and leave a review. And whilst you are at it, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please join me again next week when we get to take a look behind closed doors at someone else's relationship. But until then, I am your host, Laurie Brooke, and remember, the choice is yours, so make today and the week the very best it can be.